Kate Heartfield is the author of The Embroidered Book, a historical fantasy novel out in February 2022. Her debut novel won Canada's Aurora Award, and her novellas, stories, and games have been shortlisted for the Nebula, Locus, Crawford, Sunburst, and Aurora Awards. A former journalist, Kate lives near Ottawa, Canada.
Thank you very much. I'm really enjoying these readings, and I'm very happy to be here. I'm going to read a story from an anthology coming out in January called Trouble the Waters, and I put the link in the chat. It's available now for pre-order, and it looks like a really fascinating anthology. I'm happy to have a story in it. My story is called Lilies and Claws, and the story is about a 10-year-old girl named Marguerite living in the city of Bruges in 1302, and her city is under siege. And if you happen to have read my first novel, Armed in Her Fashion, this is a prequel story to that. So I'll just begin now. The Minnewater, where the Bruges canals opened into a wide expanse, lapped quietly in the moonlight as if all were well with the world. Its sour smell was as familiar as her sister's breath, her mother's bosom. There was no one at the water's edge, and father's boat was gone. Marguerite walked the length of the mooring wall, inspecting each boat. Things looked different at night. Perhaps she was simply not recognizing it. No, the boat was gone, and her father and brother with it. Marguerite turned in a circle, peering down streets and alleys that led to the center of the city. Father and Nicholas were out there. She was a clever girl. She would find a way to get them safely home. In the morning, this nightmare would be over, and one side or the other would be in command of the city. She would accompany father in the boat, as always, trailing her fingers through sunlit water. She bit her thumbnail, staring into the water. The moonlight bounced off swirling ripples at a strange, impossible angle. The canal serpent. Nicholas and father were bound to be near a canal. Perhaps the serpent could help her find them. It would be faster than paddling. Besides, if a twig became invisible upon its back, what else might become so? Marguerite knelt on the stone wall, gripping the slimy edge, watching the swirling waters. In the rippling movement of the swells, she could see the outline of the creature quite clearly. It was long, huge, as broad as a horse. It could carry 3 people on its back. Marguerite asked God to bless her enterprise and untied a good long rope from the closest boat. Her fingers grew cold as she struggled with the wet knot. Next, she pulled the balled-up yarn from her pocket, doubled it, and used it to retie the boat. It would not hold, not this disgraceful yarn she had spun, but she had to make some effort. She was a boatman's daughter. It was one thing to borrow a rope and another to let a boat drift away. Now, what sort of knot did one use to catch a canal serpent? She needed an inescapable knot, one that would bind the serpent to her will. She tied an overhand loop, leaving plenty of room. Her hands shook and her knees were cold from kneeling on the stone. She pulled the white feather from her pocket and tossed it into the water. It twirled in the air and landed. As it hit the water, it vanished, neither sinking nor even getting wet. Marguerite drew a silent breath. The pattern of ripples had not changed. Her feather had not startled the water monster. The first time Marguerite threw the rope, her aim was off. The loop slapped quietly on the surface and vanished. Must have hit the creature's back. God's blood. She pulled the rope back, but the creature had begun thrashing, splashing water in a way that made Marguerite suspect it had reared its head. This was a chance. She threw again, and this time the loop at the end of the rope vanished. Marguerite gripped the taut, quivering rope that seemed to simply end in thin air. She braced her feet as the invisible thing reared, yanking her toward the water. "You could pull me in," she gasped, "but then you'd have this rope around your neck and no one to take it off. I take it you don't have fingers. I'm a boatman's daughter. That knot won't work itself loose, especially not wet. It will just get tighter and tighter until one day the long end will catch on a nail or an anchor, and then—" "I know what you want," the creature said in a voice like oil. She was taken aback. "What?" "There are only 2 things any human has ever wanted of me." Well, I want to know if you've seen my father and my brother, just like all the others I see. One of the things humans want is to ask me tedious questions. My father's tall and my brother has blonde curls. They might have taken a boat. I pay no attention to the comings and goings of humans. Then will you take me to, and there it is, the second thing humans always want. No, I will not let you ride on my back. Shouting came from the streets behind her, a great inhuman roar. Marguerite twisted about, half expecting to confront a dragon. Instead, she saw orange flames staining the sky. The city was on fire. Where would Mother and Katerina go? Where were Father and Nicholas? You must pay attention, she cried, tears thickening her voice. The city's burning. The serpent's laugh was a wet sound, like the coughing fits that had taken grandmother before she died. I can wait while your city burns. It has burned before, and I survived, cozy in my cold home. Those ugly new walls will crumble to the ground, and I will remain. Long ago, I lost interest in carrying humans from place to place, or in listening to their boring questions. Marguerite heard the false note, recognized it from hearing her own voice, her own protestations, when the children would not play with her or share their jokes as they walked upon the crane. I bet I could ask you a question that would not bore you. Ha, not likely. If I do, you must take me wherever I want to go. There was a pause. Then, if you could ask me a single interesting question, I would gladly carry you one time, even if you do smell of sheep's wool. And I'll stop there and let you know that my giveaway is an advanced reader copy of this book, which is my novel coming out next year from Harper Voyager UK, which is called The Embroidered Book, and it's about Marie Antoinette and her sister as rival magicians. And I'll put a link about that in the chat as well. Thank you very much, everybody. And the story will be In Trouble the Waters, which is coming out in January.